Hello and welcome to Enzyme Essence. We're here to talk about the founders of Enzyme Essence as a joint venture between Viktoras Kalvinskis and Troy Opperly. So we'll introduce ourselves now and talk a little bit about ourselves so you get to know who we are. I'd like to introduce Viktor Kalvinskis. Viktor, could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Thank you, Troy. It's great, first of all, being here up in Minnesota and away from the tropics. I was born also in a very cold environment, Lithuania, in the pre-war, World War II, and I came to Germany, kind of forced into Germany by retreating German front, and spent 5 years in Germany, and then came to the United States, worked farm labor, factories, bakeries, many different careers, and eventually ended up getting a college education and taught theoretical mathematics for several years and moved into computer sciences and was relatively what they would call workaholic type A personality. So I burned out early in life. By the time I was in my late 20s, I was an old man. Hair was dropping out rapidly. I had a double chin, also face filled with acne, and my shoulders were oozing with pus. I had arthritis. I had migraines for about 20 years already, right from childhood on, and all kind of other health complications, including difficulty as far as memory due to saturating myself with pasteurized dairy products. And so I said it was time to drop out. I had a very successful career, and that was a hard decision to make. I had background work with Smithsonian Astrophysical Observatory, then moved on to Apollo consultant firm with Apollo, Army, Navy, war games, banking community, as well as Apollo project, I guess, also. And from there, I just didn't know what I was going to do. So the doctors offered not much help. My right leg fell asleep, and also I was insomniac, so my leg was asleep, but I was not resting very well. And so I just gave 3-week notice and drifted off into search for an answer. And there was a newspaper clipping that resonated in my mind, and probably many of you, it's before your times, Twiggy, the world famous model that was skin and bones, and she was staying at a place called Rising Sun Christianity. And this woman was growing grass indoors, and to me, I was always attracted by the esoteric, bizarre thing. So I ended up getting at least the contact information. Eventually, I visited a naturopath doctor, and he also suggested, go visit the Rising Sun Christianity. Ann Wigmore was running the operation. She was the founder, and I did it. And the food was agreeable. I decided to sign in for a 3-week stay at $60 a week. That included everything, housing and all. And of course, being a workaholic in nature, I just kept doing things for Anne. And next thing I know, she says, after the 3 weeks is over, she says, would you like to, stay a little longer? And she told me I could have housing at a farm. And to me, that was the ultimate clinch deal. Work unlimited hours for no salary and live on a farm. I says, you can't beat that. That was a closure. So I took on the vows of service, chastity, and poverty, and ended up learning a new career altogether. So that was my entry with Anne, and after a couple of years, I was getting a little bored with manual labor. And I learned farming, I learned organic gardening, I learned elevator repair, car repair, plumbing, electricity, because we had no employees. So, we'd have 1 to 2 clients. And at that time, somewhere in that vicinity, the head of Harvard Nutrition Department wrote a book called The Nuts Among the Berries. I think he was referring to Anne and me. Basically, the veganism movement was not even existent and created already a certain ruffles and confrontation with the Harvard nutrition department, especially when I appeared on national television with him. But I spent many years at Harvard Medical Library studying nutrition on my own, studying health, and out of that evolved a book that was called Survival into the 21st Century. At that time, it was still the 20th century, so we were all hoping for the 21st, and here we are, very much immersed. So I changed the title Survival in the 21st Century and updated. It went through 60 reprints. It sold over 500,000 copies before. And I was the publisher. I learned, again, another skill, namely publishing, writing, and all that. And with Anne, I pioneered a lot of breakthrough areas. First of all, we co-founded the Hippocrates Health Institute, moved out of the Rising Sun Christianity model, which was felt kind of occultist, and at the same time started developing alternative food sources. I came up with the idea, and Wigmore already had wheatgrass gardening going indoors. In less than a week, you could have wheatgrass grown and extract the juice or chew on the grasses, just like in the same way as King Nebuchadnezzar, who was very sick and
That's right.
kind of a long time ago though, and ended up recovering by living the way of the oxen. And Essenes later on, 2,000 years ago, already had wheatgrass growing in the desert. Matter of fact, you can see on YouTube something called Greening of the Desert. It's the way of the Essenes that were able to create agricultural rejuvenation in the desert when nothing else existed, just by working with the laws of nature. So I developed the sprouted sunflower greens, the buckwheat greens. These would be 7A days. Now they're available, as well as pea greens all over the country in the health food stores and worldwide. And they became the standard salad greens. And then the accelerated sprouting procedures with the usage of sea salt as an accelerator that creates nutrient density, increased longevity, shelf life of the products, and also improved taste. And it alters your DNA in a positive way, so that you end up ever accelerated, stronger and stronger, no matter what genetic limitations you might have had. Then I initiated, all of these happened, mind you, accidents. But see, most people in life, they'll walk, you know, and they get into something happens, and yet they kind of pass it by, yet it could be a major breakthrough. I wasn't like that. I always noticed details, so included like the sunflower greens. I ordered the wrong sunflower seeds. I ordered them with the shells, and you can't eat them too easily. You know, you use them for bird feed, so I ended up throwing it away to the compost heap. Came back a week later, and it was growing with these new weeds. And I was so excited, you know, I says, my God, I've never seen anything like this. And I started eating. Well, later on, you know, I finally figured out, dumb old me, oh, it's sunflower. That's the source of it all. So that, then I started searching for other plants, and we developed them indoors, such as buckwheat and pea greens. All other seeds seem to not do so well, but these two were inexpensive, and they were very tasty, and now became the standard, like within our Hippocrates program, which relies 85% of the food is organic, sprouted greens and baby greens. And so Anne and I started the Hippocrates Health Institute. So I developed the fermentation products. Sea cheeses were totally unknown before. We knew cow-based yogurt and cow-based cheeses. Well, I innovated the whole technology, again by accident, spoiling tahini in a refrigerator, tahini nut dressing. And again, it was a situation where I says, wow, you know. And among other things, I was then 90 pounds. I didn't know how to put on weight. I was enzymatically exhausted. I was sensitive to environment, so I couldn't stay in the city more than 12 hours. I always went to the farm to sleep overnight to kind of rejuvenate my immune system. And I couldn't digest really anything. Like a lot of people who get into diet change or veganism are enzyme exhausted, and I was no different. And all of a sudden, I started consuming fermented foods that were pre-digested. My microbial cultures, they excrete enzymes and digest the protein into amino acids, and now it became bioavailable, and within a year I put on 40 pounds. Wow. You know, and it was not fat, it was muscle. So that was for me a major breakthrough, and developed a very scientific program, holistic. My book was the first holistic book that emphasized the spiritual side of life, the emotional, mental. I have a science of happiness segment, and how you learn to dominate. Through dominating your mind, you can also change your emotional context. Exercise and yoga and all kind of other fitness, as well as body ecology as related to planetary ecology. All of that was totally 40 years ago. I released that book, and it still is a very large, significant seller. We do have a more recent book that we just released, Troy and I, and that was my contribution through the pioneer in the field of enzymology, which is Dr. Howell. I discovered his manuscripts at Harvard Medical Library, tracked him down, and he was in his early 90s, and got permission to reprint it, and did an interview with him. And also I created the update to the enzymology field. His book was published at the time that I was born, 1939. So wow. That's how, you know, our lives connected, and I ended up also being trained by him in enzymology formulation and product development, and joined his company, which was National Enzyme Company, and worked with them for many, many years. But due to basically changes that took place in that industry, I did not favor their philosophy or their orientation, and moved on to look for somebody who is of my own caliber and integrity, and also lifestyle orientation. And a common friend of mine, my business partner Lee, ended up reintroducing me to Troy, who I worked with another company prior to that, which was called Celltech. We were involved already there, and I was the product developer in terms of initiating the enzyme products for the company, the detox products, also the probiotics products, and also different green products. So it was a very exciting adventure. And again, I keep moving into what I consider more aligned to where I want to be. And Troy represented what I consider really a holistic company that has, in the enzyme essence, the spiritual component very clearly spelled out, and it resonates very strongly with the scene ministry that I have been involved in, which is based on Dead Sea Scrolls, and also just the physical fitness. I mean, he's like reminded me of, you know, climb the tallest mountains, just like Moses in the desert, and instead of coming down with tablets of 10 Commandments, he came down with one: thou shalt eat enzymes. You know, and I know if we work hard together the way we're going to be working hard together, we're going to have, on the recommended daily allowance on every table, instead of salt and sugar, they'll be sitting enzymes, probiotics, and algae as the primary driving forces for excellence. And that's what it's all about, driven by excellence, superlative. It's enough of this wimpy couch potato orientations with dumbing of America. We're out to create excellence in the world. Right. And I know we can do it, because this is what people in their hearts actually want. Also, another career I had was talking about more obesity in the United States. I worked with Dick Gregory. We had a center in Bahamas and Fort Walton Beach, Florida, which was morbid obesity, Dick Gregory's obesity and substance abuse center. So I learned the two areas. I hated fat people, and God brought me into immersion into obesity.
Okay.
And it was beautiful. I fell in love with these people. They were just so beautiful, and changed my whole orientation about many things. And was the basically product developer and research, head of research, and I came up with products that led us from the initial Bahamian diet, losing, if you were lucky, a half a pound a day. I got it up to 1 pound per day women and up to 2 pounds per day of men with a holistic program. But even with the holistic program before, they were not losing the weight because they were enzyme exhausted. And I jacked up their lipase, the fat digesting enzyme, and the result was wham. You know, we were doing this exciting research, and we were on 20/20 minutes and many other national exposure. And substance abuse was again becoming a very major problem, and we pioneered that area by taking basically all the drugs that people are addicted to. I came to understand are alkaloids, which basically temporarily neutralize the acid condition in the body and make you feel more vital, namely alkaline. It's like a car battery. You've got to have enough alkalinity. The polarity has to be there instead of, so we alkalize them through salt baths, ocean swims, and also alkaline nutrition. And all of a sudden, when they even would consider getting into using drugs, they would have, guess what, called bummer trips, because they would throw them into alkalosis, and all of a sudden they feel wasted, just like acidosis, you feel wasted. And in America, most people are in a state of acidosis, and you see by the drugs that are being sold, but even more, the lesser drugs, the coffee is dealing with your acidosis. For 2 to 3 hours, you are alive, you are juicy, you are happy. The happy hours of Starbucks, you know, I mean, everybody's typing away the novel of their life or writing poetry, plays, whatever it was, you know, and then it wears off and you got to have another and another. So but instead the answer is alkalinity. Most people get acidified due to digestive disorders, so we address it through our digestive products. Most people are kind of why they crave bad food is, well, big thing is they're not happy, so they seek out comfort foods to make themselves feel more comfortable. And so we got our probiotic line that is so juicy. Now the current research shows that it is the gut brain that creates happiness, not the head brain, the gut brain. And by feeding yourself probiotics, you can get off all kind of medication and that are for whether you're dealing with Prozac or Lexapro or whatever it is, or also the pills that are used to keep yourself basically in any way of escape, like pizza pill. It's a large one, but it's the happiness. 60% of our children in high school are choosing pizza over anything else. You know, so we have a cultural revolution that needs to be addressed, because we are living at a time when you're looking at this generation, many of us, we're seeing it demonstrated where the parents are outliving the children. I've seen it in my own family. 27-year-old youngster dropped dead of one of my nieces of drug overdose. And this is so altogether common. And we need new consciousness, new revolution, new awareness of you being a holistic being and addressing every part of your body energy field, the spiritual, the mental, the emotional, the astral, and the physical. If you don't do that, you're never going to be happy. And the whole idea is expressing your joy and also expressing your commitment while you are here on planet Earth. And we're here to be instead of Johnny Appleseed, we're going to be Troy and Viktor's enzymizing the planet Earth
Yes.
to bring out the vision that our great pioneer Dr. Howell had for the world, which is go back to that stage of wildlife, but in a civilized fashion, where you're eating enzymatic nutrition, because all animals are an alkaline diet, enzymatic nutrition, and they're eating food that is appropriate for their physiology, and that's to be discovered. I know what the answer is, but for all of you rest, it's for you to discover.
Well, perfect. I appreciate you sharing that, and I'm sure everyone greatly appreciates what Viktor has brought to the table. I mean, just amazing, the millions and millions of people that he's affected and had an impact on. So it's a real honor and privilege, and we'll talk more about how we kind of reconnected in the next video.